Hey, everybody, you're going to have to forgive me. I just woke up and, kind of still trying to get going this morning here, but I just wanted to take a few minutes and talk about the Spencer Jones incident that played out a couple days ago. For those of you who don't know, Spencer Jones is a D1 athlete. He's a wide receiver for the Oklahoma Sooners, and he gets into a fight in a bar bathroom in Oklahoma. And it's a fucking disgusting bathroom, by the way, covered in piss. And during this altercation, he almost loses an eye because of a fractured orbital, I think, right? And when the video starts off, he's in the middle of a verbal altercation with this curly-haired kid who's looking towards the camera, away from Spencer Jones and kind of towards his friends and towards the camera, right? And the way the videos, you don't get a whole lot of context other than that. You don't really know what started it. We don't really have any details as to what happened before. I don't know. But the video starts off, and it sounds like Spencer Jones is pointing to the door and telling this kid to get the fuck out. Now, when you start doing that, get the fuck out, you're almost inviting this person to stand their ground, right? It's not like you're sitting there, hands up, hey man, I'll leave, or you whatever, let's just call it whatever, let's just be done with it. It's not like you're suggesting that you're going to be passive. Like, everything about Spencer Jones's body language, the way he was talking to the kid, and again, I don't have the details before, but it wasn't non-combative, right? Like, it looked like Spencer Jones was willing to sit there and hold his ground over whatever this was. And like I said, when you're telling someone to leave, you're almost inviting them not to leave. All right, so this kid in a jean jacket, who's presumably a friend of Spencer Jones, real preppy looking dude, like, legitimately checks himself out in the mirror, rubs his chin and comes into the frame and shoves the curly-haired kid. And you immediately see this, like, switch flip. And you can tell that shit's about to go down, right? The problem with what the kid in the jean jacket did was everything up until this point was verbal. But once you cross that line, once you put your hands on a person, you're leaving it open to what their interpretation of self-defense is. You're telling them, I'm willing to cross this line if you are. And this fucking kid was. So jean jacket guy shoves curly-haired Ben Askren-looking kid, right? Ben Askren-looking kid slaps Spencer Jones in the face, who's not the one who shoved him, by the way. Slaps Spencer Jones and cracks him with 2 overhand rights. And at this point, you're like, all right, a fight's breaking out. And then like a second later, you see him hit a quick level change, get in on a body lock and take him down, and you go, oh, this ain't good. This ain't just a bathroom brawl. This is a kid who knows how to fight, about to fight somebody who doesn't know how to fight. And that's what happened. He took his back, almost choked him out, sitting there pounding on him on top of him, right? He's got his back. He eventually moves into mount at one point later in the video. But the scariest part about the whole thing, remember jean jacket guy that we were talking about? The one who initially pushed curly-haired kid? Well, when the video starts, you can see this kid sitting there in a beanie, right? And he's presumably, I think he's the younger brother, according to Twitter. I don't know how far you can trust that, but he's the younger brother of the curly-haired kid. And when the fight breaks out between Spencer Jones and the curly-haired kid, the kid in the beanie grabs the kid in the jean jacket and starts to restrain him so that he doesn't interfere with the fight. As curly-haired kid, the focus is on curly-haired kid and Spencer Jones on the ground. Curly-haired kid has his back, right? Spencer Jones' back. All of a sudden, you see jean jacket guy and the kid with the beanie come flying into the frame. And the kid in the beanie literally takes this kid in the jean jacket down into the wall, and he cracks his head off the fucking wall. That's the scariest part about this whole thing to me, is like, that right there was so eye-opening as to how disastrous this could have been. And you could literally die. Like, you got jackets on and shit, especially if, like, what if a judo black belt grabbed you and tossed you on your fucking head? Like, all your weight coming down on your fucking skull in a bathroom like that. Like, goddamn, man. I don't know. It's just... So, thank God everyone's okay. But there's a lot going on with this, right? And I think, obviously, everybody's like, oh, Spencer Jones learned his lesson. I mean, yeah, he definitely did. There's no denying that. Like, the problem with what Spencer Jones and his friend did is that they entered into a situation and they were willing to get into a physical altercation without knowing how to fight, right? Like, they were willing to go there, but they didn't know how to defend themselves at all. And that was honestly my first takeaway when this fight ended, was Spencer Jones needs to learn a little bit of self-defense. Like I said, even if you're sitting, like, one of the first things you learn on your first day of, like, self-defense class is hands should be up, non-confrontational, but also if your hands are up when somebody throws a right hook at you, like this fucking kid did, you can lean into it and kind of take the blow off, defend with your hands, then work to get over to side control and, like, get a body lock of your own. Like, okay. I'm not saying, though, that a little bit of self-defense training would have saved Spencer Jones in this situation. That kid, those boys knew how to fucking fight. Like, they could fight. I'm not saying, but maybe if Spencer Jones had taken some self-defense classes up to this point or knew a little bit about it and what people were capable of, maybe the situation never happens at all. Because one of the first things that you learn when you start training is, oh, yeah, I don't want to run out into public and fuck with somebody who knows more than me. Like, you realize that immediately. And what Spencer Jones just went through is everybody's worst nightmare, right? Like, getting embarrassed like that in front of the video goes viral. You have a name in college sports, like, even worse for him. It's amplified, right? But that was on it. I feel like the entire situation would have been avoided if Spencer Jones knew how to defend himself. Because very rarely in a video, guys, do you see two people who get into a fight and they both know how to fight. Like, people don't just get into street fights and know how to fight. It's generally two people who have no idea what the fuck's going on, or one person who clearly does know what's going on, beating the fuck out of a person that doesn't have any idea what's going on. And that's what happened in this video. So maybe if Spencer Jones didn't have a false sense of security in terms of his ability to defend himself, maybe this never would have happened, right? A lot of talk about who's in the right or wrong. Like I said, when the jean jacket guy comes in and pushes curly-haired kid, I'm not saying that his response in cracking Spencer Jones was the right thing to do. Spencer wasn't the one that pushed him. But what I am saying is that, like, you've left it open to this kid's interpretation of what he needs to do to defend himself in that situation. And he felt like he needed to whoop your ass, and that's what he did. I mean, fuck, man, it's hard to look. There's a redeeming quality to this, where these two arrogant kids who are, like, kind of pompous, telling these little, no offense to them, they look like little ruffians almost, right? Like, when it pans over to him, the curly-haired kid's on the ground, he's got blue jeans tucked into his cowboy boots that come up to his fucking knees. Like I said, this curly, hairy, skinny, just nothing special about him. Probably not the dude you thought you were going to get your ass whooped by at the bar that night. And I just think that the whole thing could have been avoided if Spencer Jones knew how to defend himself, right? Because it probably never would have happened. Like, it's so funny that you spend a lot of your time learning jiu-jitsu and these self-defense practices so that you never have to use them as the goal, right? But you do have them in your pocket if things like this do happen. Also, like I said, I don't want to sit here and criticize the kid because I wasn't in the situation. I'm not saying I would have done the same thing, but I am saying what I think the smart thing to do for the curly-haired kid would have been to just turn around and walk away. Like I said, so often when altercations like this happen, if you know that you know how to fight, the odds that the other person knows how to fight is probably pretty slim. So, and it would be hard to do if somebody's telling you to get the fuck out of a bathroom, right? But if you just, like, let that kid have his ego and let him tell you to get out of the bathroom, so what? It doesn't change the fact that you would still be able to whoop his ass. Spencer Jones might think that he one-upped you, right? He might think that you were afraid of him. He might think he asserted his dominance. But in the back of your head, you should feel confident knowing that if it got that far, I would be able to handle myself. But the main objective should be to never let it get that far. Like, if you have an opportunity to turn around and exit, I think you should just turn around and exit, man. I mean, like I said, it'd be tough to do, especially when somebody's sitting there talking shit in your face, telling you to get the fuck out of a bathroom, like trying to assert their dominance over you, like standing there, like I said, kind of a combative sort of posture to them and the way they're talking. It would be tough, but it's safer. These kids are lucky that something more severe didn't happen. Like, they're lucky Spencer Jones didn't lose an eye. Or they're lucky that they didn't open themselves. I don't know if they did. Maybe. There's probably going to be legal consequences to this. Like, you could have killed someone, man. It's not like you're training in a gym where things are controlled. Also, there's no referee that's going to step in and stop that fight. You think the kid fucking recording, yelling out all this world star stuff is going to be the one who steps in and saves your ass? No, man. People aren't going to break that up. They don't want... I don't know. The whole thing is messy, but my two biggest takeaways from it were, by the way, if by some odd miracle Spencer Jones were to catch wind of this video, Rafael Lovato Jr. is a world champion mixed martial artist, middleweight champion over in Bellator, and one of the greatest American jiu-jitsu practitioners of all time. And he runs a gym in Oklahoma City. There's world-class training available to you. Go get it, man. Go learn. Go introduce yourself to that so that you know that people are capable of doing what this kid just did to you. I mean, he knows it now, right? He got introduced to it the hard way, but figuring it out in training is a lot easier than figuring it out in a fucking kind of wild, unregulated fight like this. And second takeaway would just be, like I said, I'm not saying the kids were wrong. There's an undeniable redeeming quality about watching those kids get their ass beat in this situation, no doubt. And it was left open, like I said, to what their interpretation of self-defense was. I don't know. The kid in the jean jacket crossed the physical barrier first. So it's tough to say that they were wrong, but I am saying it's probably safer and always wiser to walk away without getting into that confrontation if you can. Because you might get into a fight with somebody who does know what they're doing, and then you're like, oh shit, I'm in a real fight for my life here against somebody who clearly practices and knows what's going on. Or if you do know what you're doing, you're just going to end up whooping the dude's ass anyway. So let him have his ego, right? You don't need that shit, man. I don't know. It's just, could it have been avoided? Maybe. I don't know. I wasn't there. But I do think the smart thing to do is just turn around, walk away, and leave. And if you're feeling like that person got one over on you because of that, so be it. Who fucking cares? You know what the outcome would be at the end of the day. This curly-haired kid probably knew in the back of his mind how that fight was going to play out. And 10 out of 10 times, it's going to play out like that. Like I said, those boys knew how to fight, and the two that got their ass whooped didn't. So, I don't know, man. Spencer Jones, learn self-defense, and if you are somebody who trains and finds yourself in this situation, I always think the smartest thing to do is to walk away. Not because you might lose, but just because, like, you could hurt somebody, or you could lose, or you're going to open yourself up to, like, legal, a whole bunch of stuff, a whole mess of things, right? So, I don't know. It was fucking crazy. Bizarre situation. There's also a part of it that kind of feels good, like, oh, this shit fucking works in a real life scenario though, right? Like, it's, as MMA fans, we like seeing stuff like this, man. So I don't know. Those are just my take on it. I don't know. I went to an advanced class the other night and got my ass beat for literally, like, I got my ass beat. When I say got my ass beat, I mean got my ass beat for 45 minutes straight. And yeah, when you do stuff like that, you don't really want to be going around getting into fucking barroom fights either. So another reason for Spencer Jones to pick up some jiu-jitsu, man. I don't know. Those are my thoughts. Again, sorry for rambling. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and I will catch you guys later. Bye-bye.